If you were to watch your own movie, what would that look like? What would make you the hero of your own story? I've been pondering that question for a while and wondering if that is even possible. Is it possible to look at our lives through the lens of a movie screen? And I believe we can. I believe that we can learn a thing or two on how we would like to live our own life. Because if we can relate to the character, we can be attached to the character. And if we are bound to that character, we may want to be a little bit more like them. And in today's episode, I'll share how we can. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. I hope that the author of the original Game of Thrones series was wrong when he said, "There are no heroes. In life, the monsters win." George R.R. Martin. Every single day, we face individuals who don't necessarily act like angels. They don't act according to how we would like them to behave, according to our ideal behavior. You have work colleagues that have different character traits. You have family members that may have different belief systems. And you have friends that you love to hang out with because you have an amazing time and you have loads of fun with them, but you can't get to have a conversation with them. The world is made out of billions of individuals with unique experiences that make them unique human beings. And I firmly believe that our experiences shape the person that we become. They shape who we become. And as we become more aware of our experiences, acknowledge them, accept them, we take over that power. That is the moment where we take control of our lives. We take the steering wheel of our own car. In some way, we feel forced to act. We feel forced to take action because once you see how those experiences have shaped who you have become, you now have the power to shape yourself based on the experiences that you need in order to become the person that you want to be. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And being forced to act is one of the highlights in the story structure of the hero's journey. The hero's journey is one of the most captivating story structures that you see in most of the Hollywood movies, but mostly superhero movies. And the story structure usually starts like this. You have a protagonist that is living the status quo life, nothing unusual. But at some point, he is forced to take action. He's forced to do something. And that action leads him to be in uncharted territory. He has no idea how to get out of that situation. So he has to adapt through different challenges, through different obstacles. And after having overcome all those challenges and all those obstacles, the hero or the protagonist, the main character, ends up back in his old life. But this time, having gone through an internal transformation and having acquired way more knowledge or way more wisdom than at the beginning of his journey. And because this week is what I call Spider-Man week with a new movie coming out, let's use the superhero as an example. We have Peter Parker. He's living the status quo life. He's a normal high school student, nothing special there. He does get bullied by a guy called Flash and doesn't have many friends. He has Mary Jane and Harry Osborn. Yeah, I'm talking about like the early 2000s Spider-Man movie. At some point, Peter Parker is bitten by a spider, and that bite allowed him to get superhuman strength. He didn't use that power until he was forced to use that power. And he did when his uncle died. He decided he wanted revenge and go after the guy that killed his uncle. So that was the moment where Peter Parker was forced to do something because, well, something happened to his uncle and he wanted to take revenge. From there on onwards, that was the birth of Spider-Man. There are other things that happened, new villains that popped up. He had to manage different obstacles keeping his identity secret, managing to beat all the villains. But in the end, he overcomes all those challenges and he overcomes them successfully and gets back to his normal life, which is again going back to high school, but this time not as Peter Parker, but more of a Peter Parker that has a secret life as the Spider-Man vigilante that saves the city. Let me ask you this. Would you be interested in watching a movie 2 hours in the cinema? Let's just imagine that, where Spider-Man, aka Peter Parker, is watching TV while knowing that he has the superhuman strength. He's watching on TV how all the villains are tearing up the city. Would that be an interesting movie? No. The interesting part is that Spider-Man or Peter Parker takes the responsibility of using those powers for the benefit of helping his family, his crush, his friends, and the city. That is the overall goal. That is the reason why we get immersed into the Spider-Man character and we like superheroes. They use the power for a certain benefit. Brody Ashton said it best. Heroes are made by the paths they choose, not the powers that they are granted with. And today I want to share how you can choose the right path for you in your superhero journey, the path that allows you to be the hero in your own story. Because the reason why you get attached to Peter Parker is not because he has superhuman strength and Spidey powers. The reason you get attached to Peter Parker is because he's courageous enough to use that superhero power and superhero strength to save the city, save the people that he loves, and take care of his crush. Let's just say it like that. Which then onwards, because he does that, because he uses his powers for the benefit of the city, he becomes a hero. He gets to be the hero by his actions, by who he is as a person and how he treats people. And you get to be the hero of your story by having clarity in your personal standards, on how you treat people, and how you use those standards and the way you are as a person to seek importance in your life. Because Spider-Man as well, even though it is a secret identity, he felt proud to be Spider-Man and he sought that importance. And you can do too. So in order for us to be the hero in our own story, we need to find clarity in those three aspects of our life. And let me give you an example on what it means to not have clarity in your life and the reason why you really, really want to have it. Let me know if this sounds anywhere familiar. It's Friday evening. You don't necessarily have anything planned on your to-do list. So you decide, let's have a movie night. So you get comfortable on your couch, you get comfortable on your bed, you take off your computer or you switch on the TV and you go on to Netflix. But once you are on Netflix, you are overwhelmed by so many choices and you don't know what to watch. So this movie night that you decided to have to relax from your hard-working week turns into a 45-minute quest of choosing the right movie that, in the end, well, you probably fall asleep after the first 10 minutes of the film. And this is a perfect example of not having clarity in regards to choosing a movie on Netflix. You, one, lost your time because, well, you didn't go onto the app knowing what movie you wanted to watch. You didn't know what was the purpose of going onto Netflix. Well, choosing a movie. Which movie? And on the other side, you wasted your energy. You wasted your energy because if you fall asleep 10 minutes after the movie, well, you could have just spent it on doing something that would be more fulfilling for you. So you have lost track of your time, you have lost track of your energy, and those are the two most precious commodities in your own life. But this can also happen in life. Brendon Burchard says, if you leave your growth to randomness, you'll always live in the land of mediocrity. So we want to avoid that because that's not the life of a superhero and that's not the life that you would like to lead. You want to live a life where you have clarity, you know exactly what to do, how to treat people, and how to fulfill your serotonin needs of importance. You want to feel important, socially accepted. And that is the purpose of this episode today. So let's get into that. To create the right stimulus for creating the characteristics of who you desire to become, to decide on how you act towards other people and how you seek importance and apply that to your life, that desire that we want to create needs to come from a survival-driven place. And if you've listened to the episode with Dr. Larissa Bruning, you have sort of an idea what I mean by that. But in a nutshell, you and me, we are humans. And as humans, we have survival-driven needs. And when we satisfy those survival-driven needs, our brain releases certain happy chemicals that are called oxytocin, serotonin, and dopamine, under also others. We call them happy chemicals because as our brain releases them, we feel joy, we feel happy. The reason why we feel happy is because we meet a survival-driven need. And the following exercise that we will be going into now is to figure out what are the experiences that meet those survival-driven needs, that satisfy us so that we release more of those chemicals in our brain. And we want to establish the protagonist of our own story. We want to establish the traits of that protagonist, so the person that we need to be in order to have more of those experiences in our life. And if I relate back to Spider-Man, let's just say that Spider-Man is ecstatic. He is full of joy after he has beaten the villain. At that point in time, Spider-Man is super happy because he has beaten the villain. Sure. But who does Spider-Man need to be in order to release this dopamine of beating the villains at the end? He can't be the happy person, right? That doesn't fit. Spider-Man can't be happy and beat the villains at the same time. As he is beating the villains, he needs to be courageous. He needs to be determined. He needs to be prepared. He needs to be better. He needs to be stronger. He needs to be unpredictable. And if Spider-Man needed a coaching session in regards to motivating himself to beat the villains, maybe those are the words that he would choose so that he could remind himself of who he needed to be in order to release more of that dopamine in his life. I don't believe that he needs it because that is engraved in his personality. But for you and me, people that are trying to become our version of our muse, the one thing that we need to do on our daily basis is remind ourselves of who we need to be. And as we remind ourselves over the course of the days and weeks and months, we are creating a habit of becoming that person. But we need to establish the right characteristics of who we need to be in order to release more of that dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin in our lives. So let's get into that. George Bernard Shaw said that life isn't about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself. And dopamine is the perfect chemical in regards to creating your own life, because your brain releases dopamine when you find what you seek. And dopamine is the excitement when you expect a reward. Those rewards can be goals, those can be overcoming challenges, those can be expectations that you set out for yourself and you beat those expectations. For Spider-Man, as we said before, he gets the dopamine release when he beats the villains. He is super happy, he's done it, he's overcome that challenge. But for Peter Parker, the normal guy, well, he gets the dopamine release when he takes the courage to talk to his crush, to Mary Jane or MJ or whoever, because after he has talked to his crush and the conversation has gone successfully, his brain releases dopamine and he feels happy. And we want to define the experiences that make us happy as we achieve our goals and as we overcome our challenges, and we want to kind of characterize the person that we need to be in order to get more of that dopamine in our life. And the way we do that is by first thinking and noticing the experiences that do release that dopamine in our life. We notice those experiences that bring us this joy in finding what we seek in our lives. That can be in our personal life, that can be even at work, that can be in our free time with surprises, with our friends, with anyone. What is it that releases dopamine in your life? So it's when you find what you seek, when you meet an expectation, when you overcome a challenge, when you meet a goal that you set out for yourself. What are those events that give you this joy when you have achieved something, when you have created this goal and achieved that goal? What are those events in your life? And as you think about that event in your life and you are reminiscing about the joy that you could feel, think about the characteristics of who you need to be in order to have more of those events in your life. The person that feels the joy as they have overcome something is not the same person that is overcoming something. They are two different people, or at least they are showing two different character sets of their own personality. And as you are thinking about the characteristics, the traits that you need to have or you want to have in order to get more of that joy and dopamine in your life, choose 3 simple words that you can use as a reminder in order to define who that person is, to define your hero in regards to your personal challenges, in regards to your personal objectives, on your personal standards. So let me give you an example. In 2022, I will run my first ever marathon. And marathon runners, at least the brains of marathon runners, will release the dopamine, the joy, they feel ecstatic, the excitement when they see the finish line. That is the moment where they feel all the joy, the excitement. They will say, I have done it. Now, the person that feels the joy, the excitement is not the person that is going to run the whole marathon, because it will take some while to run the whole marathon, right? So who do I need to be in order to run that marathon? Well, first and foremost, I need to be determined to train. I need to be consistent with my training, and I need to be prepared. So if I would characterize the person that I need to be in order to get the joy and excitement of finishing a marathon run successfully, those would be 3 character traits that I need. Hence, I need to be prepared, I need to be determined, and I need to be consistent. Otherwise, I don't get that dopamine release in my head. I don't get that dopamine release, that excitement of running a successful marathon. And if I ever see myself on the couch and tell myself, oh, I don't feel like running today, I remind myself of who I need to be in order to get to do the things that I desire to do, in order to get to live the version of my hero in my story. Because if I don't remind myself of who I need to be in order to get to achieve the things that I do, I will never get there. And in regards to your personal standards, in regards to your personal goals, those 3 words that you choose today will hopefully help you get there. They will hopefully help you achieve the goals that you set out to achieve. The following chemical is oxytocin. Whatever you are, be a good one. Abraham Lincoln. Your brain releases oxytocin when you build social alliances. And oxytocin is the pleasure of letting your guard down around the people that you trust. And humans often leave the herd as they grow up, but we still seek that oxytocin in our lives. And that's why we create those social alliances. We have a set of friends that we want to trust. Now, the really cool thing about oxytocin is that it's a two-way street. As you release oxytocin because you have people that you trust, the people that trust you also release oxytocin because it's the same relationship on the other side of the road. So those social alliances don't only stir up this joy and emotion in your brain or in your body, but also in the people that you want to share that emotion with. And in order to have more of that joy and oxytocin and build those social alliances in your life, we do a similar exercise as before. First and foremost, we need to notice the good feelings of being surrounded by people that we trust. How do we feel around people that we protect? How do we feel around people that protect us? How do we feel about people that we love, we take care, or they take care of us? What is it that we have as an emotion when we are around people that we trust, when we are in proximity of those who we love. And as you're thinking about that emotion, thinking about those events that make you feel trusted and you trust the people around you, that is your brain releasing the oxytocin in your life, and you are feeling the joy. Now, as you're thinking about those events that make you feel that joy and you feel that emotion of being close to the people that you trust, think about the person that you need to be. Because I can tell you one thing: if you are a-hole, you will probably not feel that, or at least you will not make other people feel that oxytocin in their lives. They will not release those chemicals. They will not feel the joy and excitement being around you. So who do you need to be in order to have more of that oxytocin in your life and help the people that you love and trust have also more of that oxytocin in their lives? How do you need to treat the people that you love? How do you need to interact with them? How do you need to be as a person when you are having a conversation with them? And as you're thinking about those character traits or those habits that you have that create and build this trust with other people, write down who you need to be in regards to treating other people. We will use those 3 words to define who we need to be in order to have more of that social trust in our lives and that joy that we can share with others as we build those social alliances in our close circle. How do I use those 3 words? Well, before I have a meeting with someone, or before I have a coaching session, before I talk to my partner, my girlfriend, I think about who I need to be or who I want to be for them. It's not about me, it's about them. And as I am being more for them, hopefully they are more for me as well. And finally, the last chemical is serotonin, the feeling of being important. Your brain releases that chemical, it releases serotonin when you feel socially accepted, when you feel significant, when you get the respect from others. And this is a funny chemical because it's one of those feelings that we see in a lot of people, but we don't like to see in ourselves. But it is probably the one and only trait that we really need to learn in order to feel much, much happier with ourselves. Learning how to seek importance in healthy manners for ourselves. May that be through confidence, pride, self-respect. I mean, whatever it is, all of it is good as long as you are nurturing your respect for yourself. So, how do you create serotonin? How do you create a healthy way of having more of that happy feeling of feeling important in your life? And we do again a similar exercise as before, but this time we think about the moments that you feel important, the moments where you were better than someone else in a particular expertise, in a particular area, subject in your own life. Where did you have a competitive advantage? May that be at work, a competitive advantage in your free time with one of your passions, whatever it is. What is it that makes you feel important? What is it that you get a sense of pride because you are good at doing something? And think about that moment. Think about the emotion that you feel as you are doing that one thing or those things that make you feel socially important. And as you're thinking about those moments where you are socially important, also think about the audiences that you are trying to get that importance from. We don't necessarily want to feel important from certain people, but we may recognize it from others. And also understanding from who that importance comes from allows us to create a better habit for ourselves, to create a right habit or a right service or right activity that allows us to have more of that serotonin in our life. And as you're thinking about the events, your audience, what would be 3 things that you could do for yourself where you would be able to give something back? You could give a service or you could do something for free where that would make you feel more important, that would make you feel socially significant. So think about activities that you could do. Think about things that you could share with other people. And one of the most important and one of the most simple ways of getting more serotonin in your life is by simply having conversations and sharing your value. What is value? Everyone has experiences. Everyone has gone through something. Everyone has gone through their first work experience. Sharing your value is sharing your experience in something that you have overcome. But at the same time, if you are really good at one skill and sharing or teaching how to do that skill or how to do that thing that you are good at, it's another way of sharing your value. Knowing what is it that releases dopamine, what is it that releases oxytocin, what is it that releases serotonin in your life, and constantly remind yourself of the things that you need to do or the things that you want to do so that you get to feel that emotion of joy and excitement and happiness in your life. May that be in regards to your personal goals, may that be in regards to your social connections, or may that be in regards to feeling socially important, is the most important thing to be overall happy. It's all about expectations, but if you know what to expect and who you need to be in order to get what you expect, life is way more easier. And that is the secret. At least I believe so. So as you have those three words to remind yourself of in regards to your hero, your version of a hero for your personal standards, you have those three words to remind yourself on how you want to treat other people so that you can get more of that oxytocin and social connection in your life. And as you have three things that you can do in order to serve other people, in order to serve the right audience, to feel socially important, remind yourself on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on who you need to be in order to achieve those personal goals, in order to achieve more, in order to have more of those social connections, in order to feel more socially important. And you have created your version of a hero. You have created your Spider-Man version of your own life. This is you. This is the version of a hero that you wanted to have. This is the movie that you would love to watch. You wouldn't feel bored, you wouldn't fall asleep, and you have not wasted any time or energy. In fact, you have spent all your time and energy in the right person that you have always wanted to be. I hope you liked this episode. Let me know in the comments. And what is the one chemical? Let me know what is the one chemical that you need to stimulate more of in your life. I know that some people have a dopamine depletion, others a serotonin depletion. I hope that you all have social connections that are truly meaningful to you. And yeah, let me know in the comments, and I'll talk to you next week.